We have Mr. Thomas Barnhorn for Seminole City Council. Incumbent, I believe.
That's right. I'm one that is an incumbent. Thank you very much. Thank everybody for having me here. I wanted to come learn a little bit more about this group as well. Tell you a little bit about myself. The reason I'm here, well, part of it is to learn about you. The other part is I would love to get some new votes. Now, having listened to everybody's introduction, there's two people in here from Seminole. One I know is in the county. So I could possibly get one vote, I don't know. But I would tell you that you know somebody who lives in Seminole. So if you like what I say, if you like what I stand for and represent, please tell your friends. The biggest way a person can get elected is word of mouth, friends, and the old grassroots formation. It isn't by how much money you raise, and it isn't by that at the local level. All government starts at the local level. If there's a pothole on your street, you don't call a senator, you don't call a congressman, you call me. And you say, why is there a pothole on my street? And I've got to go out and I've got to fix it. And that's the type of government that I look at when I look at the city. As to people who are non-incumbents and they are running, when I first ran 7 years ago, I've been on the city council for 2 terms and appointed one in between. The one way that I got on council was knocking on doors. When I ran 7 years ago, the average city election in the city of Seminole, we have 9,000 registered voters. There was an average of 600 votes that came out. Okay, 350 per person would win it for the 2 that were on the ballot from the time before, as was said, and the other person hoped to get a couple. When I ran, Ann Lindbergh from the St. Pete Times apologized to me when I won because she didn't get my phone number. She didn't think I had a chance because non-incumbents don't win. But I went out, I ran on 2 simple things. Things that the government should be involved in. Library hours. Our library closed on Friday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, and it was closed until Monday, and then it was open from 8 to 5. That makes a whole lot of sense for anybody who works or has a family and works. So there was a real legitimate need there. Our rec center did the same thing. So the recreation center that was there for the youth and for the families was not available to the working family. I found out the complaints and how many people didn't like that when I knocked doors. The election time rolled around, I won with 1,100 votes.
Whoa. Yes.
Okay? The incumbents each had 220. Okay? So you can get and you can offset incumbents, but you've got to have a reason to do it. I don't believe in term limits on the city level. Why? Because we go out and we build relationships. It's taken me 7 years. I have relationships up in Tallahassee that I've built where I go up and I say, hey, our city needs this, and I can do that. And it took me 3 years just to get in the door up there, and if I had a term limit, by the time I got in the door, I'd be done. So at the local level, that doesn't work. There is term limits put on us. What I did to one of the other incumbents when I ran. Okay, I went out and had him outvoted. Okay, so there is term limits there. As far as the red light cameras go, because I've heard a bunch of people talk about that, and I told you until you get a ticket, everybody's barred on councils and cities. They have passed the first set in the House committee passed to repeal the red light cameras. It's got to go 3 more times up for vote. So call your state representative, your local office. Okay? Turn around and call your senator, your local office, and say, I am against this, please, because they go by what they hear. And I would recommend that there's all kinds of form letters out there that you can send, but once they get more than 3 that have 95% of the same words, it goes in a separate bucket, and the guy never even sees them. So you can send 150 of the same exact email, and they'll see 3. Okay? Now the bucket has a counter on it. So what you've got to do is you've got to make sure that if there's 100 words in there, at least 10 of those words are different. Okay, so if there is that letter, have that minor change. Otherwise, they won't see those. I found that out because Representative Ahern is a personal friend of mine. And I sent one from the league, and he goes, well, you don't even get those. And I said, what do you mean? And he kind of explained it to me. And I'd never heard that, and I've been sending these form letters forever and getting everybody to send them, and they've been going nowhere. As far as what we are responsible for local, what we do as a local representative is taking care of safety, the health of our community, and the welfare. I increased recreation hours. I looked at the youth, I said, we've got to have that. We have to have it available. We also are responsible for safety. We have the best fire department in Pinellas County. Okay, we service the county area within our area as well. And I would tell you, we use the sheriff's department. We use them as our policing service because of economics. We don't have to support the fire or the police station. We don't have to support and buy all the cars. We rent them. Okay, they service us. They actually work for the city. We have designated officers. Every city that uses them does. And then welfare comes in, and that's a little bit of the moral debate of what's right and what's wrong. Within the city, my number one charge, and I look at it as being fiduciarily responsible for my taxpayers' dollars. You send me $1 and I've got to use it. I want to know where it went. I want to know how it was spent. I want to make sure it was done for something good. And that's part of the reason on the city council 4 years ago, and it was under my spearhead, that we passed an ordinance that says if we have any activities inside the city, not a dime of taxpayer money will go towards that. It will all be funded by the public, whether it's a business, whether it's individuals. We haven't lost that availability. We probably have one of the most hometown feels. In September and October, we have music in the park. Down at City Park, everybody comes down, they listen to concerts put on, doesn't cost them a dime. Fire department shows up and serves 50-cent sodas, $1 hot dogs, and $2 hamburgers. People can, take a family of 4 out for under $20 and have music and a show, and the kids can play. Those are the kind of things, and they're not put on at taxpayers' expense. They're put on because we got committees together that were able to go out and knock on a business door. My business supported one of the nights of music in the park, okay? And said, look, we need your help, we want your support. And that's how we do it inside the city of Seminole, where a lot of taxes have been going up and a lot of budgets have been going up, and they do a thing called the rollback rate, and they say we're not raising taxes because we have the right to raise it to what we would have had last year if the taxes hadn't dropped. We've never done that in our city. In fact, we've shaved off 10% of our budget from the city council since that law went into effect 4 years ago. So I would challenge you that most cities can do that. They can shave their budgets. But it's a matter of whether they are willing to or not. We just bought a new city park. We're going to be building it. It's on Park Boulevard, right across from a gas station, Hess, and Home Depot. That little strip right in there. We bought that with federal dollars. Okay? Well, actually, 70 cents out of every dollar we spent was federal dollars. We paid 30 cents on the dollar for the property. Okay? And we have grants from the state of Florida. We have grants from private institutions to pay for a kayaking setup to go inside there, and also for recreational activity. So once again, it's not going out and telling the taxpayer, hey, we want to give you something, we're going to cost you money, because I don't believe that's our job. Our job is to be frugal with that money. As far as anything else, I'm going to let you guys ask questions, because as I said, I'm from the city of Seminole, and I don't know if you can vote in the city of Seminole, but county, see, that's what I'm talking about. And within the city, with the exception of our rec center, which they used to, because the county used to have it in their budget, everything else is available whether you live in the community of Seminole or the city of Seminole. Just the rec center is not. Now, any questions anybody has? Yes?
What is your idea about reclaimed waters, and how are you trying to protect the citizen of your city? When the mineral rights, when the legal term being used, the reclaimed water, that water is a natural flow, and that company providing the water, they have an easement to the minerals. And if 7 years from now, they have a right to sell that mineral to some private identity.
As far as the minerals themselves within the water, okay?
No, I'm talking about the ground under the land. For example, my house, I use a reclaimed water, and there's irrigation going on, and the Florida law, the state, but very clearly they use the natural flow of the water. And there's a private company who's maintaining that flow. Now they have an easement to my property. 7 years from now, they have a right to my mineral under my house. How are you going to protect that?
Okay, the mineral rights in your own property. Yeah. Any of the easements going across, private companies have access to use it, but not remove it at this point. Okay, now I don't know, what city are you in?
Because it's a 1950 Florida Agriculture Code very clear about that.
Okay, I'm sorry, what city are you in?
I live in Clearwater.
In Clearwater. Okay. As far as actual mining from within your soil, they do not have the right to do that. Okay? Unless it's specifically sold to them by a city. Okay?
Yeah, the city could take that rights away from citizens because you already given them an easement.
But they are not allowed to use that for anything other than the transmission, because that line also goes out currently to all your utilities. Okay? And the utilities, once it's placed into the ground and run through the ground, they can't be disturbed by another utility. Now, reclaimed water, for example, inside the city of Seminole, we kind of got bypassed because we didn't sign into some of the things that the county themselves had wanted. Okay? We've got very limited, if you live in the county inside Seminole, some of those areas on the farther edges towards the beaches do have reclaimed water. Okay, if you live in the heart of Seminole, you don't have it yet. Someday you might, okay, if everything goes across. But as far as that goes, that's where you go and you would actually talk to your city and you would say, look, make this change take place, make it happen, because those are the ones that legislate locally, okay? As far as the right to actually come in and start excavating on your property, nobody has the right to do that with the exception of laying utilities. Okay, that's the only excavation they can do. Now maybe they can come up with some idea that says, hey, we're going to pull this pipe out and we're going to yank the dirt out and go through it that way. But chances are that's not going to happen because the community isn't going to allow it to happen. Okay? One more question. Go ahead, please.
Yes. When you get federal dollars or when you get state dollars, aren't you using taxes from your community? Don't they pay into that?
Yes, they do and they don't. Okay, the federal taxes that we're receiving are not coming from the property taxes that we actually charge our residents. Now, let me go just right down the line that you're talking about, okay? You pay $10 in, okay, and you're in my city. I can't control that portion, okay? But if I can get some of that back for the betterment of the city, you're better off, rather than giving it to somebody else. And so therefore, yes, some of that money does actually cost the taxpayers some money, okay? But they're going to charge you, the taxes are set up, the federal government's set up, and unfortunately it keeps spending more and more money, okay? And they're the only people that, they're the only ones that don't have it. Now, when we ask for certain grants, we apply for grants that are already set up. We don't go out and look and say, hey, here's an idea. For example, our rec center, we just replaced the air conditioner, okay? That was part of the Community Development Block Grant for energy efficiency, okay? And there was a grant that was set up in the federal government to turn, and they funded it completely, and they said, now please apply if you were going to be using energy efficient methods such as this right here. Therefore, we were able to put a new air conditioner in because of that. Now, do I think that that was necessarily something I would vote for on that level? No. But if it's already there and they've already taken my money, I want to get as much back from my residents as I possibly can. If they're taking money out of your pocket, your pocket, your pocket, and your pocket, I would like to see some of that come back home. I mean, just for your own good. Now, maybe you can say, hey, well, why don't they just not take the money out of your pocket? Unfortunately, we don't have that kind of administration right now. They are going to continue doing that. My daytime job, I'm a financial advisor. I'm painfully aware of it. And every day I'm worried about what they're going to say in Washington as far as spending or lack of tax cuts, because my market goes up and down based on who opens their mouth in Washington right now. And I thank you very much for having me here. If you have any other questions, I'll be around afterwards. I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.